Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician, and this is Holomancer.
And of course Dora, the most daring reporter.
We are infinitely grateful that we have another opportunity to see you all again.
A year ago, Hearthstone was dangerously close to death. 2021 has been a period of unfulfilled expectations.
Today we will analyze the results of 2022 for Hearthstone, but in addition, we will talk about the state of affairs in the card game industry in general, as the previous year turned out to be the most unpredictable for the genre.
You will find out how much money the studios have earned during the year, which game is the king of the industry and which of the games may die in the near future.
The production of this video took a very long time, due to the lack of electricity in Ukraine. Dear friends, we will be grateful to you for any kind of support, like, comment, repost, channel subscription, or sponsorship. Producing new videos is still very difficult, but we try to do our best. Special thanks to our patrons. Your support is very important to us in this difficult time.
Let's finally get to the topic of the video. While Blizzard is consolidating new ways to play card games within a single Hearthstone client, others in the industry are taking the opposite approach. This year, Konami introduced another mobile collectible card game with gacha mechanics, based on the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise. Cross Duels is an unusual game that combines elements of deck building and auto-battler. The game has several interesting modes, including multiplayer battles with raid bosses. In general, the new game looks interesting, but Konami once again offers players to spend money on a collection of the same Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It is completely incomprehensible to us why Cross Duels was not introduced as a new mode for one of Konami's already existing mobile games. Most likely, the company wanted to get an additional, independent source of income. This approach led rather to the opposite results, but we will talk about this in detail in the second part of the video.
CD Projekt Red is also pursuing a strategy of building standalone games instead of expanding Gwent's capabilities. The company positions the new game Rogue Mage as the first single-player expansion. This is a very strange positioning, since the company claimed the same about the Thronebreaker game, which was also sold separately. In turn, Rogue Mage is a much simpler game in technical terms and looks more like another roguelike copy of the dungeon run format from Hearthstone. Luckily, the game only costs $10 and doesn't force players to pay for cards.
According to AppMagic, the game managed to earn from $100,000 to $200,000 on mobile platforms. This profit is very small. I don't see any benefit in selling this game separately, especially given the fact that Gwent was sorely lacking in good solo content.
Unfortunately, 2023 will be the last year for Gwent. Very soon, CD Projekt Red will stop releasing new cards and will provide the community with tools that will allow players to independently make changes to the balance of the game. This is very sad news for us as Gwent held a special place in our hearts. This is the most atmospheric card game with a huge number of gameplay features. Moreover, in our opinion, Gwent is the friendliest in terms of monetization, but being too generous did not ensure the longevity of the game. By the way, Gwent is not the only popular card game that is dying. You will be shocked when you find out which game could be next.
Unlike CD Projekt Red, Riot Games is concerned about expanding the possibilities of Legend of Runeterra and creating new ways to play. About a year ago, a new Path of Champions mode was introduced, which also has roguelike elements and is an analog of Dungeon Run from Hearthstone. The studio allowed players who love solo content to focus solely on the new mode while still earning XP for progression. A very progressive approach for the industry.
Hearthstone is still the only game that combines several fundamentally different games in one client. This feature has turned the game into an attraction with regular content. Moreover, this strategy allows Blizzard to minimize risks in case of ambiguous game decisions. Players always have alternative ways to spend time in the game client.
2022 has been heralded as a period of improvements for major game formats, but most of the changes have been extremely mixed. The new premium currency Runestones has caused hatred in the community. The release of the progression system for Battlegrounds has removed the title of totally free way to play Hearthstone. The Mercenaries mode finally got the much-awaited system for exchanging extra resources, but it turned out to be worse than all expectations. The new visual card type from the Hearthstone designers turned out to be significantly worse than the community concepts. At the same time, the termination of cooperation between NetEase left Blizzard not only without income, but also significantly reduced the user base. The icing on the cake was the release of the Death Knight as a new class, which turned out to be another reason for increasing the cost of the collection. We talked about this in detail in the previous video, don't miss it.
At first glance, you might think that 2022 has finally killed Hearthstone, but that's not the case. The main advantage of the year turned out to be fairly high-quality regular content. The first expansion of Sunken City was a breath of fresh air and perhaps one of the best periods in the history of the game. The two subsequent expansions were slightly less impressive, but neither was a complete failure. Moreover, the competitive environment of each expansion phase had its own unique features. We received a lot of balance changes which resulted in a slow evolution of the meta. Death Knight didn't break the game like Demon Hunter did. This is also an extremely positive development.
One of the main problems of Hearthstone last year was the extremely low involvement of players. During the first two expansions, our viewers spent about an hour daily in the game, but during the last phase of the year, the activity of the players was almost halved. Alterac Valley is definitely one of the worst periods for Hearthstone.
But this year the situation is completely different. Thanks to the rewards track level data from our subscribers, we were able to determine that on average players spent 80 minutes in the game daily. This is a really impressive result, which confirms the high quality of regular content. We have collected for you a few more indirect facts that point to the positive growth dynamics of Hearthstone. According to ActivePlayer.io, the number of active Hearthstone players is slowly increasing. In December, this figure again exceeded 5 million players.
In addition, Blizzard this year began to publish leaderboard for the main modes. Thanks to this official data, we can track the state of affairs in the game. So for example, over the past 4 months, almost 2.5 million players worldwide, excluding China, have played at least one match in the Battlegrounds mode. The indicators for the traditional mode are also not so bad. In December, Legendary rank was given out over 77,000 times across all Hearthstone formats. An interesting fact is that the number of Legendary players in the Classic format almost tripled in December. At first glance, the Dead format unexpectedly approached the Wild format in popularity and thus proved its usefulness. If Blizzard disclosed this data, then things with the user base are not so bad.
But that doesn't mean that Hearthstone doesn't have problems. First, the game becomes increasingly difficult to attract new players and bring old players back into the game. Moreover, new content does not cause a stir. If you look at the Hearthstone viewership chart on Twitch, you won't see significant spikes in interest around announcements of new content.
At the same time, Team Fight Tactics, by Riot Games, which is the only competitor to the Battlegrounds mode, is showing growth and a significant increase in interest with the release of new add-ons.
Hearthstone's second problem is more significant. Hearthstone is losing money rapidly, at least on mobile platforms. According to Sensor Tower, the pre-release and release period of March of the Lich King brought record low profits. This is despite the fact that Blizzard has gone to great lengths to get players to pay more money. Leaving China, Hearthstone lost most of its revenue in December. Throughout the year, Hearthstone made just $62 million on mobile platforms. Our surveys confirm the downward trend in players' willingness to spend money. Our viewers are less and less likely to buy pre-orders and Tavern Pass. Sales of cosmetics show extremely low efficiency, including in the Battlegrounds mode.
For us, this is a paradoxical situation. On the one hand, players show high involvement and spend more time in the game, but on the other hand, they do not want to spend money.
Very important factor in reducing revenues is the sanctions against Russia. As a result of this, players cannot make in-game purchases. The Russian region has been an important source of revenue for Blizzard, but apart from this factor, there are definitely additional reasons for the drop in revenue.
How about other games?
A year ago, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel showed incredible interest from the players. The game was significantly more popular than Hearthstone, as it is the first complete port of the game for mobile platforms. But the hype faded too quickly. At the moment, the average number of players in Steam is less than 20,000. Master Duels made record profits in the first months after its release, but after that, revenues began to plummet. Throughout 2022, the game has earned over $80 million on mobile platforms. But the profit figures for the last half a year are lower than those of Hearthstone.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Link only made $50 million in a year. This is a real shock for us. In the first half of 2021, it was the top card game on the mobile platform. Profit decreased several times immediately after the release of Master Duels. Thus, Konami did not attract a new audience, but forced players to migrate from one game to another, which ultimately led to a dramatic decline in revenue in both games. Konami's greed knows no bounds. The new Cross Duels game made less than $3 million. The increase in the number of different Yu-Gi-Oh! Games dealt a significant blow to Konami's stable business. Perhaps there are other reasons? Dear friends, we can't figure it out without your help. Share your comments about the current state of affairs in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Our review would not be complete without Magic: The Gathering Arena. According to App Magic, the game made over $20 million in a year.
Throughout the year, Gwent made less than $2 million from mobile platforms. This result was enough for CD Projekt Red to decide to stop developing the game.
Now let's talk about a game that may die in the near future, just like Gwent. I'm sure this will come as a surprise to you, but this is Legends of Runeterra. Despite Riot Games' huge fanbase and crystal clean reputation, the game managed to earn just over $5 million on mobile platforms. This is extremely low for a game as a service. Very often in the comments we see reviews that Legends of Runeterra is the most loyal game that does not make you spend money at all. But if the game's economy is too friendly, regardless of the size of the fanbase, the developer's profits will be meager, which means the company will not have the resources to continue supporting and developing the project. For this reason, if developers want to create a viable card game with a long lifespan, they have to be very greedy.
This truth is very well understood by the fathers of Hearthstone. Ben Brode and his team this year presented Marvel Snap, which won the Game Awards as the best mobile game. Ben Brode was able to confirm the fact that the success of Hearthstone was not accidental. It happened only thanks to the brilliant ideas and revolutionary approach of the development team.
In just 3 months after its release, Marvel Snap has earned nearly $25 million, and unlike Masters Duels, profits continue to snowball. The game is the new king of the genre on mobile platforms, despite the most controversial progression system with explicit pay-to-win elements.
The success of Marvel Snap once again confirms that the representatives of the card game genre are still capable of causing a stir. The secret of success lies in the combination of addictive gameplay and the deceptive feeling that the game is free.
Dear friends, do you think we should make a review of the Marvel Snap economy?
If the statistics of declining revenues on mobile platforms are also observed on the PC, then the collectible card game genre is plunging into a huge crisis. Most likely, in the long run, only games that can adapt monetization methods to new conditions will be able to survive, as old methods lose effectiveness very quickly. But there is a strong possibility that the opposite will happen. There is reason to believe that Blizzard may choose a strategy to increase the cost of the game by increasing the amount of expansions and the amount of paid content. In any case, the results of 2023 will be extremely important, and we will continue to monitor the situation.
Finally, we can't wait to read your opinion on our data. Do you think the trading card game genre is dying?
What disadvantages of popular games do you consider the most important?
Share your thoughts in the comments and join the polls on our community tab.
Dear friends, thanks to each of you for being with us today. We hope to be able to get in touch in the future.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Job's done.